Hello there, welcome to another episode of One-on-One with Glen and Brent.
I'm Glen.
I'm Brent. Glen his future is so bright, he has to wear sunglasses. What's going on with the sunglasses? Did you have your eyes dilated today?
I can't see out of my left eye anymore, so you'll probably see these more often.
What happened to your left eye?
Come on. Danny's saying to keep it moving.
Okay, so is it related to the bat bite that you got last year? Do you remember that whole thing about how I died and everything? And there were a lot of puppets. The show got really, really strange for a really long time.
Time marches on, and I'm not looking forward to the marching.
All right, well, discounting the various adventures we've had, let's move on to Louisville athletics. Got a lot to talk about. Now, the last time we were here, it was right before the battle for Atlantis, and I believe at some point I predicted that the Cards had a loss coming, and indeed, we lost to the Baylor Bears.
Yes.
Now, at the time, Rick says he's using a short bench because he wasn't using Hicks for whatever reason. He wasn't really playing King. The guys just got tired after those 3 games. What do you think happened there, Glenn?
I think it was good old-fashioned getting tired. I mean, we played that night. Was it, a Wednesday? And
Wednesday
the game
night,
didn't end.
Thursday afternoon, and then Friday, like midnight.
You play till midnight, and then you play like 2 o'clock the next day, and then you play another game. That's a lot to ask. I think you could really see us laboring in the second half of that third game.
Yeah, but really, is it such a bad loss? If you look right now, I think as of today, Baylor's like ranked number 4 in the nation. They're 8-0. Come the end of the year, this could be a pretty good looking loss for us.
I think so. I don't think Baylor's necessarily that good, but they were good enough to beat a weakened U of L team that needs that energy for defense because we're not going to give you much on offense.
I think the real story of that tournament was the beatdown we delivered to Wichita State, a team which many thought was probably the best team in the tournament that probably win the whole thing.
I think a lot of people thought our loss would be right there after the Old Dominion game where we
scraped by.
We really scraped and won in overtime, a game that we might not really have deserved to win.
Yeah. Well, so that came. We've had that loss as I predicted, but now looking ahead, or actually still looking back. Sorry,
ahead from then, but
back from now. We won against a good Purdue team. What was most impressive to me about that game was the way we handled their bigs. Almost completely eliminated Haas, the giant Dolph Lundgren-looking, corn-husking, Purdue player. The other guy, what's his name?
Caleb Schwanigan.
Schwanigan. We don't know. Look it up. He ended up putting up pretty good numbers, but definitely not the kind of numbers he normally puts up. I really
put him up in the second half.
Yeah, I really felt like our defense was pretty great in that game.
I thought so too. We held him in check in the first half. We were just doubling the whole way, and they made adjustments to get that guy to score a little more.
Yeah.
But as well as we played in some areas, the concern was we couldn't put him away because the offense we're just lost a lot of times.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of that, we have to follow that up with the very odd game against Grand Canyon, a for-profit Baptist university that begins their game with a prayer and has like their own staff of reporters and color analysts. That was the closest to like a cult-type atmosphere I've seen in a game in a long time. I'd like to personally request that we never play them again because they scared me.
I turned the game on, and just because I wasn't doing anything else. And I was like, I don't really care what happens in this game. They had an opening prayer, and I suddenly wanted to beat them by 60. But we didn't.
No.
We were down at halftime.
Yeah, we were down 1 at halftime. First time we had trailed at halftime all year. Again, offensive woes.
Very much so.
Seems to be the issue. Now, ultimately, we won that game despite a heroic effort from their player. Was it Marshall? Put up like 42 points. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Because it was not just that we don't have great perimeter defenders, because we don't.
Right.
even if we had two of those guys on him, it didn't matter. He was doing everything he needed to do.
So that leads us to now, and the question remains, what are we going to do about scoring? Now, coming up, we've got 3 gimmies, more or less. I think it's 3. We had St. Louis and somebody else. We got 2 more games. 3 more games before we go into a deadly stretch. We're going to be facing 4 in a row top 25 opponents. We've got, of course, UK, IU, Virginia, and Notre Dame. Now, at Notre Dame is always a bad time for us, pretty much. So you have 4 games where you could conceivably lose all 4. What are we going to do about getting the offense on track? I feel like the potential is there. I don't feel it's like the 14-15 season where you kind of felt like what we had is what we had.
Well, we're never going to be the Showtime Lakers. I'm aware of that. But
very few people are.
Right.
Very few.
But I think some things will fall into place to help us along. I think Donovan Mitchell, once he gets a little more comfortable knowing that he actually is the primary offensive player, wouldn't you think?
Yeah. Now, what do you think about? I've read people talk about the fact that Rick's quest for zero body fat is robbing Donovan of some of his muscle, and he's not jumping as high. He isn't really physically able to perform as well as he did last year. Is that just internet scuttlebutt?
I don't know. I think I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, it may just be a bunch of horse shit.
I'd put anything on to do it.
But yeah, I think Donovan obviously is the superstar in the making. But he's just kind of slumping right now. Does he need to drive more? More jump shots?
He's in a strange position because we need some Russ Smith from now here in a while. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, that's bad offense.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want to do that unless, only Russ Smiths of the world want to do that.
Yeah.
I think once he understands he is the go-to guy in a lot of situations, maybe he'll feel more confident and we can get a few more of those kinds of Russ Smithisms to help us.
Well, and I think he is the guy, but we're going to have production from at least a couple more guys. Now, Deng Adele over the summer suddenly starts, throwing up so many points that he starts appearing on like draft boards and stuff.
Yeah.
But he is not. But is it because he's settling for jump shots over and over again? Is it because he's not driving? I think
that's it. I think he's settling for jump shots. I think that the whole team resists going inside, and I don't know if that's because the lane is often clogged with your Jalen Johnsons that really don't do much else but stay deep in the post.
Mm-hmm.
But clear all that out. I think we have all the pieces there. We're just trying to fit them together. I
agree.
I like if you just look at what we've got, it looks like a good mix. Mm-hmm. It just hadn't come together yet.
Well, I can't remember the last time we had such depth, in the front court. We have a lot of options there. I mean, look at a game, even like the Grand Canyon game. Suddenly, Mott Stockman comes on with 10 points. He was great at the line. He was rebounding. I mean, that was by far the best performance of his career. If you could start relying on him to do things. I mean, you've already got Jalen Johnson who's coming on good this year. Ray Spalding looks like a future NBA player. I mean, he's got skills. I think you're going to see him develop.
All 4 of those big guys do completely different things. Mm-hmm. So if you're someone on the wing, you're not always automatically going to know where to put that ball for that guy because does he need it down low? Does he need those hook shots from Motts? It's kind of confusing. Maybe you're Quentin Snyder's.
Well, and so that it leads me to my other. Motts was great in that game. The other player I thought was very good and I want to see more of was VJ King. So far, I hadn't really. It's hard to tell what he really had. But he was good at the line. He was good with his shot. That was definitely the most impressed I've been by him so far.
I'm high on VJ King. You can put that down on the list.
Put it on the list, Dad.
He's just not. His only problem is that he doesn't know the system well. The more he knows it, I could see the more of the light, that bulb thing that comes over his head. Your bulbs.
There's a physical bulb. All right, we're talking too much time from Danny, so let me go ahead and say this.
But I'm
all
so
right?
good at it.
Yeah. I agree. The future is very bright, but we have to go through a real shitstorm here pretty soon. A real trial by fire. Those are 4 games. You can go 0-4. I'll be happy if we go 2-2.
I'm not worried about those games. We're probably going to lose some. As long as we learn from them. It's all about March.
Well, I agree. And as always, Rick and his team playing their best ball in February. So I think the future's bright for the basketball team, assuming I don't even want to mention what could happen, but there are always things in the atmosphere that may come home to roost at some point.
Yeah.
Before we get to this fan favorite segment, let's talk briefly about the football team. I believe, have we discussed the Houston loss at the time? Let's go ahead and let's just say that
there were several losses there at the end to, some people would call them formidable opponents.
One of them was the University of Kentucky, who beat us at home.
That things happen. It changed everything for us. We're now in the Citrus Bowl.
Yeah. In the space of 2 weeks, we went from being in contention for the playoff series or the New Year's series, and suddenly maybe we'll get in the Orange Bowl, and now we're in the Citrus Bowl.
It's sort
which, implies fruit. It's not the Orange Bowl.
Right.
It implies fruit.
We're in the orange realm.
Yeah.
But it was like when we lost those games and we moved down the list, the playoff standings, for the first time in 2016, things didn't seem right.
Yeah.
It just seemed like everything was going well all year, and then you get to this, it's like you're ending on a bad note.
I kind of feel like the warning signs were there. I mean, we had trouble putting away a Duke team at home that we were, the spread was like 25 points. I mean, there were issues all season long that if you look at the signs, you can kind of think maybe we weren't quite as good as we thought we were. But I think it's just because we had the best player in the country, and you want to believe that the whole team is, going to really pull together and have a magical season. I think if not for the hype that we built early in the year, this season we'd probably all be pretty happy with it. 3-loss, season,
Right,
bowl appearance,
I think to some extent some teams figured us out.
Yeah.
And also I've gotten some rumblings that there was some inner turmoil.
Well,
but
that happens, boys, how boys are.
Yeah.
And their hormones.
And boys.
All right, well, that's football. We're going to Citrus Bowl. No one cares. All right, so we're going to get to our last segment here, a little thing where we go through the ESPN College Basketball Encyclopedia, and I riffle through the pages at random, and I stop, and then Glenn has to tell me everything he knows about that team. Glenn, you'll just tell me when to stop, and...
Stop.
Team is Louisville, the Louisville Cardinals. I swear to God.
Okay. University of Louisville, the River City. You have
I swear to God, that's what
Denny Crum coached the team from 1971 to 2001. Coached us to 6 Final Fours, 2 national championships.
Mm-hmm.
Rick Pitino.
The dominant team of the 1980s.
Without
I'll
question.
hear nothing, in argument against that, but by far.
Great players such as Wes Unseld, Charlie Tyra, Purvis Ellison, DeJuan Wheat, Daryl Griffith, Mott Stockman, Honest Mahmoud. By the way, I have a new nickname for those two, Honest and Mott's. After seeing them at Dairy Queen a while back.
You saw them both at Dairy Queen?
Yeah, they were both there.
Oh, okay.
Were you out here?
I thought it was just Mott's that you saw there.
Mott's and Honest.
Did you not watch the last episode?
My new nickname for them, for the Norwegian and the Egyptian. Hot eats and cool treats.
All right, that's all we have time for this week on One-on-One with Glen and Brent. Please watch us on our YouTube channel, 2 Men 1 Couch. Please check out our sister program, what's it called? Bits and Brews with Brent and Brian, and our new program, Movie Fight. Please text Glenn if you have his phone number, and if you don't, feel free to tweet us at Glen and Brent. I never. Email is with Brent and Glenn, with Glen and Brent. Danny, just put it. And then something, maybe like a Santa Claus, and we get the lights. All right. Anyways, this was a long episode, but we had a lot to say. There's a lot going on. It's a good time to be a Cards fan. Trying to make up for the shitstorm of last year. All right, 2016-17, big time. Go Cards. I got your back. I know this is old, but thank you very much from Danny Cash and everyone here at the studios. Wishing you caviar wishes and dreams. So, wishful dreams.
5,000.